Today, we're going to tackle the super complex world of business ethics and how leaders navigate those really tough calls that can make or break a company. So let's just dive right in with a question that honestly probably keeps a lot of leaders up at night. Why do good companies, filled with good people, sometimes go so bad? I mean, we see this stuff in the headlines all the time, right? Take the college admissions scandal where you had wealthy parents paying millions in bribes, just completely blowing up the whole idea of a fair process. Or how about Wells Fargo? You've got thousands of employees who opened up fake accounts. And here's the thing, it wasn't really out of personal greed, it was desperation. They were trying to meet these insane sales goals that were being pushed from the very top. And then, of course, there's Volkswagen. They literally programmed their cars to cheat on emissions tests. I mean, talk about betraying the trust of millions of your customers. So you see, these scandals aren't just a few bad apples. They show us that navigating business ethics is a lot like walking a tightrope. The stakes are incredibly high, and even one tiny misstep can be disastrous. But to walk that tightrope, you first have to know where it is. Think about it like this. Human actions fall into three big buckets. On one side, you've got codified law. That's the black and white stuff, things that are explicitly illegal. On the other side, you have the domain of free choice, personal decisions the law has no say in. And ethics, well, ethics lives right there in the middle, in that huge critical gray area. There aren't specific laws here, just shared ideas about what's right and what's wrong. So when you're actually on that tightrope and you're facing one of those really tricky decisions, what can you use to keep your balance? How do you make the right call when the answer isn't so clear cut? Well, the good news is managers aren't just left to guess. There's actually a toolkit of ethical frameworks to help guide these tough decisions. They're basically different lenses that let you view a problem from all sorts of angles. Some focus on outcomes, others on fairness, individual rights, or even just what the community thinks is okay. Let's dig into a couple of the big ones. So, the first tool in the kit is the utilitarian approach. This framework is all about asking you to think about the effect of your decision on everybody involved, and then picking the option that does the most good for the most people. And you've probably heard this idea boiled down into one simple, powerful phrase: the greatest good for the greatest number. It's a really practical question to ask yourself when you're weighing a decision that's going to impact a lot of different groups. Okay, another key tool is the justice approach. This one makes us ask a totally different set of questions. Are we treating people equitably? Are we applying the rules fairly and impartially to everyone? This approach is all about making sure decisions aren't based on some arbitrary thing, ensuring there's a level playing field. But here's the thing, these frameworks aren't just formulas you plug in. A manager's decisions are also going to be deeply shaped by their own personal moral compass, where they are in their own moral development. Psychologists have actually mapped our moral growth across three levels. We usually start at the pre-conventional level, basically just following the rules to avoid getting in trouble. A lot of us operate at the conventional level, where we conform to the expectations of our colleagues, our families, society, but the highest stage is post-conventional. This is where a person is guided by their own internal set of values and universal principles of justice. Now, here's the crucial data point. Get this. Only 20%. Research suggests that only about 20% of adults ever actually reach that highest post-conventional level. So what does that mean? It means that the vast majority of managers are operating at that conventional level, which makes them really susceptible to influence from their bosses and the company culture around them. And that vulnerability, that simple fact that most of us are so influenced by the system we're in, is driving a major shift in the business world. Companies are moving past a pure focus on profit to build a stronger safety net for that ethical tightrope, and it's completely redefining the purpose of a corporation. This chart shows that shift perfectly. See, the old model was all about the shareholders, and that's it. But the new model, which is championed by big groups like the Business Roundtable, argues that a company has to serve all of its stakeholders: its customers, its employees, its suppliers, the communities it operates in, and its shareholders. This whole philosophy is often called the triple bottom line. It asks companies to measure their success on three things: not just one. The first is people. That's all about social performance, everything from fair labor practices to its impact on the community. The second is planet, which, as you can guess, measures a company's commitment to environmental sustainability. And the third, of course, is profit, the traditional financial bottom line. But the whole idea here is that true success means hitting your financial goals in a way that is both socially and environmentally responsible. Okay, so if you're a leader, how do you actually put all this into practice? How do great companies bake these ideas into their very DNA to create a culture that is truly ethical? Well, one of the most powerful tools is protecting whistleblowers, those employees with the courage to expose unethical practices when they see them. For a culture to be truly ethical, people have to feel safe speaking up without any fear of retaliation. It's really the organization's ultimate immune system. And that brings us to a final, pretty provocative thought from a source you might not expect: Henry Ford. He said this over a century ago, and it just perfectly captures the shift we're seeing today. His words challenge every single leader to ask that fundamental question: what is our real purpose anyway?